Today's video we want to try and beat every single Pokemon champion, and there is a lot of them, as Misty. What if Misty decided to leave the Cerulean Gym and decided to take on all the champions? With a team of mainly water types, could she even do it? Let's find out. If a Pokemon faints, it's gone from the whole run and I can't use any items in battle either. Full rules are in the description below. Let's get started. First up is Pokemon Yellow, and we have the champion for this game, Blue. We've got a lot of water types and not even fully evolved ones either. Should be interesting, but we've got good move coverage. So Blue's lead is Sandslash, and we lead off with Starmie, who's actually one of our strongest members for us. With a super effective Surf, Sandslash can't stand the water and falls to a single attack. Blue sends out Alakazam next. We hit a Surf to bring it to below half as he goes for a Recover. We then Surf again as he misses a Kinesis, thankfully. With a final water type attack, Starmie picks up a second knockout. Third, Blue chooses Executor, the three-headed eggplant. Starmie's coverage is pretty good, so we actually have an Ice type attack. We don't quite get the KO with Ice Beam, but we do freeze him. How lucky. With a final freeze and Ice Beam, Starmie picks up its third knockout, untouched. Next up is Cloyster, and we've got an electric type attack in Thunderbolt as well. One electrifying move and down Cloyster goes. Starmie is pretty powerful. Ninetales is Blue's fifth Pokemon, and it's weak to water, so with just one Surf, he falls too. We're on Blue's last Pokemon, and this could be a Starmie sweep already. We connect to Surf, bringing Jolteon to under half. He misses his Thunder, so with a final Surf, Starmie can sweep our first champion. That went a lot better than I thought. I'm sure this is going to get a lot harder. Let's move on to Johto. In Johto, Lance is the champion, and he's the next we face. Honestly, we can probably sweep this guy too. Let's try and get a Politoed sweep, as we've evolved our Poliwhirl now. Lance leads off with Gyarados, and we lead off with Politoed. We connect to Psychic turn 1 to do just under half of his HP. He then Hyper Beams us, doing a solid amount of damage, but now he has to recharge. So with another Psychic, we bring him to the red. Probably the toughest for Politoed, Gyarados finally falls to a third Psychic attack. His level 47 Dragonite is next, and we have Ice Punch. Dragonite, being super weak to ice, falls in one single attack. His next level 47 Dragonite meets the exact same fate as his predecessor and falls in one ice move as well. Lance is getting pretty mad and sends out his ace, but once again Politoed freezes his fist and takes out Dragonite with no issues. Aerodactyl is Lance's fifth Pokemon. It's faster, and an ancient power brings us to below half as an Ice Punch doesn't quite get the KO, but we get a freeze again. That's back-to-back freezes for us now. With a Surf, we can take down the prehistoric bird. This leaves his last Pokemon, Charizard, but it can't stand against the might of our little green toad and falls to a mighty Surf, beating our second champion. It's time for Hoenn, where two champions await us. In Pokemon Ruby, Steven is the champion. His team is pretty strong, but they do have a weakness to water type attacks, so let's see how we do. Steven's lead is Skarmory, and I choose to now let Psyduck get some spotlight. Turn 1, we set up the rain boosting water type attacks as Skarmory sets up a layer of spikes. The next turn, we take down Skarmory with a rain boosted critical hit Surf. Steven now sends out Aggron, but we are in the rain and he's weak to water, so with a boosted Surf, he falls to Psyduck as well. Cradily is out, but it's a threat. It survives a Surf at half HP, and the Giga Drain nearly takes out Psyduck in just one attack. We've got to switch, so I go into Gyarados on the incoming Sludge Bomb. It doesn't do much, but he does poison us. The next turn, we hit an Ice Beam to bring Cradily down, as Cradily throws rocks at us, bringing us lower as well. With a final Ice Beam, Gyarados takes down Cradily, but is pretty weakened now. Steven sends out Claydol, and I swap to Goldeen as he just sets up a Light Screen. A Mega Horn brings him all the way to the red as an Earthquake brings us low. Steven now uses 3 full restores as we keep Mega Horning. Light Screen wears off, and we finally take him down with a final Mega Horn. Now he sends out his ace, Metagross. I swap to Politoed as he hits a Psychic, and it hurts. I now double into Starmie as he in fact Hyper Beams, nearly taking us out. That probably would have killed Politoed. I go for a Recover on the turn he's recharging to get back some HP. We then Surf, bringing him below half as he hits an Earthquake, hurting us even more. His Berry activates, so we can't survive another hit. I have to recover. I recover again, and Metagross Hyper Beams. After a few exchanges, we can get it to where Metagross is recharging and we're practically at full HP, and we take him down with a Surf. This leaves his last Pokemon, the ancient bug Armaldo. It's weak to water type attacks, so a Surf from our MVP so far, Starmie, beats Armaldo, beating Steven, but there's one more champion to go in Generation 3. And that champion is Wallace. He's a water type specialist, so this should be very interesting. I think Starmie is going to be crucial again to winning this fight. Wallace's lead is a powerful Wailord, and we lead off with our Politoed. We are faster than the whale, and his Psychic does a nice little chunk to him as he sets up the rain boosting water type attacks. Wallace. We Psychic him again, bringing him lower as a double edge doesn't do as much damage as I thought it would. He takes enough recoil where a Psychic knocks him out, and thankfully Wallace doesn't heal. Now he's a massive threat to our team, and I'm very worried, Ludicolo. It starts setting up evasion instantly as we miss an Ice Beam. If it keeps setting up, which it is, it can sweep our whole team. We connect an Ice Beam, but we're not doing much damage as Ludicolo Leech Seeds us. We've got to switch, so I go into Goldeen. We miss a Mega Horn and get Leech Seeded, but the next turn we outspeed and a super effective Mega Horn and take down Ludicolo. You go Goldeen. Now Wallace sends out Tentacruel, and we've got to swap again. I go into Starmie, who takes the Sludge Bomb reasonably well. We would then outspeed and hit an Electrifying Thunderbolt to do half to Tentacruel. We take another Sludge Bomb to under half ourselves before finally taking down Tentacruel with a Thunderbolt. Wallace sends Milotic out next. I recover and he hits a weak Surf. Our Thunderbolt is doing what looks like half, and we get the paralysis. Its Citrus Berry activates, so we know we won't kill. Wallace full restores, and honestly, I'm going to fast forward this. It's a lot of exchanging Thunderbolts, recovers, full restores, until Milotic finally toxics us, putting us on a timer. He then continues to recover stall us, which is not good. I swap into Horsey, but a Surf demolishes him. I swap into Psyduck and hit a pathetic Iron Tail, but Milotic toxics us as well. I finally go into Gyarados, who tanks a Surf. I hit a Thunderbolt, but our special attack stat is so poor, so Milotic just recovers off the damage. I then go for an Earthquake, and that's doing a lot more. Finally, after many turns, Gyarados takes down Milotic. Whiscash is Wallace's next Pokemon. Our Surf does a little chunk as he goes for an Amnesia, boosting his special defense. We then go for an Ice Beam, but it's doing nothing as he just hits Surfs. Then I finally go for an Earthquake, we get a critical hit, and that takes down Whiscash in just one attack. Wallace's last Pokemon is Gyarados. It's a Gyarados v Gyarados standoff. We are faster, and a Thunderbolt does massive damage as he gets paralyzed and he gets hacked too. Wallace full restores, but it's no good for him as we bring him all the way back down. With a final electrifying attack, we beat Gyarados, beating Wallace and Generation 3. Let's head to Sinnoh where our next champion awaits. In the Sinnoh region, Cynthia is a champion, and the team is pretty scary. I do think we can beat her, but this is going to be tough. Cynthia's lead is Spiritomb, and we lead off with Horsey. We haven't used him much, and I decide now is the time. Horsey hits a Waterfall for great damage, and then goes down to a single Dark Pulse. That wasn't even a critical hit. Wow. I really thought we could live at least one attack. RIP Horsey. Out of pure anger at seeing his little water friend go down, Psyduck comes out and sets up the rain. We take a Dark Pulse, nearly taking us out too, before we hit a Surf to take down Spiritomb. Cynthia then sends out Roserade, and we've got to switch. I go into Gyarados as he actually extra Centuries. The next turn we are faster, and an Ice Beam doesn't even do half as our special attack stat is still so poor. We take a Sludge Bomb, bringing Gyarados lower before we Ice Beam again. Roserade Sludge Bombs again, putting us at 17 HP, and I'm playing sort of reckless here. Cynthia full restores, and I Ice Beam this time, critical hitting, bringing her back down. We've got to switch, so I go into Goldeen, who takes an extra Sensory to half. The next turn we outspeed and Mega Horn to finish off Roserade. Togekiss is Cynthia's next Pokemon, and into Starmie we go. We tank a Psychic and then shoot off an Ice Beam to bring her to half as Togekiss hits Starmie for great damage with an Air Slash. One more Ice Beam and we take down Togekiss, but our team is getting demolished. She sends out her Ace Garchomp, but it's 4 times weak to Ice. I risk to see if we are faster, and we are. So a freezing Ice Beam deals with her Garchomp with no issues. Lucario is Cynthia's 5th Pokemon. I check our team out, but we're in super bad shape. We only have a Politoed that we can switch into, so I go for Recover to see what it will do and how much damage, as it just goes for an Earthquake, not doing much at all. We recover back to full, and now we start attacking. A Surf is nearly a one-hit knockout as he brings us lower, but we just recover on Cynthia's full restore. We Surf again, take a little bit more damage before taking him out. This just leaves Milotic left, a familiar matchup. I recover as Milotic sets up an Aqua Ring, but I know this thing has Miracle, so I have to try and predict when she uses it. I recover now predicting it, and she did go for a Miracle that turn. We now Thunderbolt as Milotic hits a weak Surf as we bring him to half. We Thunderbolt again, and thankfully no Miracle, so with a final electrifying attack, we take down Milotic, beating Cynthia. But it wasn't a very convincing win, and we lost Horsey. It's time to head to Univers where 2 champions now await us. First up in Generation 5 is Alder, and like Cynthia, he's got a wide range of Pokemon with good type variety. With Horsey's demise, we've added Togetic to our team, and we have Drizzle finally on our Politoed to power us up even more. Our lead is our new Togetic, and Alder's lead is a Selgor. He hits a Focus Blast turn 1, but a fiery flamethrower takes him low and we get the burn. It doesn't quite do enough after burn damage to take him out, so the next turn Alder full restores as we hit another flamethrower and we burn him again. A Selgor goes for a me first, but it fails because I soft boiled to get back our HP as he succumbs to the burn damage. Vanillix is next and it can hurt us, but it always sets up screens or acid armors, so I stay in his light screens, but our flamethrower is now not doing much at all. He then acid armors, boosting his defense as we bring him lower with a flamethrower. He connects a blizzard and we survive on 2 HP. Oh, wow, that was close, as we bring him to the red with a flamethrower. We've got to switch, so I go into Politoed and we eat the blizzard, and we set up rain thanks to our ability. Vanillix hits a weak flash cannon before we take him down with a sidekick. Next up, Alder sends out a Scavalier. A rain boosted surf does massive damage as an X-Scissor does massive damage to us in return. A final surf of the waves from our happy Politoed takes down a Scavalier. Volcarona is out and I'm not risking Politoed, he's too important, as I swap into Gyarados as he bug buzzes for a little amount of damage. Volcarona now sets up with Quiver Dance, but it doesn't boost his defense, so a rain boosted Aqua Tail destroys a fiery bug in just one attack, but Flame Body activates, burning us, crippling our Gyarados. Alder now sends out Bufalon, and this is a threat. I swap into Starmie on the Stone Edge and we tank it quite nicely. I then go for a recover and a Mega Horn puts us on 37 HP, we're in trouble. I swap to Goldeen, but a Mega Horn nearly takes us out too. I look at my team and my switch-ins are so limited and we need damage off on this thing. So after a great performance, Goldeen hits a rain boosted Aqua Tail for half before falling to an Earthquake. You did great this run, Goldeen, RIP. Bufalon is now at half and we need to be able to outspeed it. I go into Psyduck and pray we do, and thankfully yes, so a Surf finishes him off and claims revenge for Goldeen. Last but not least is Druddigon. I swap to Gyarados to lower his attack with Intimidate as he outrages for massive damage, and after burn we're at 28 HP. We've got to switch again. I go back into our only healthy Pokemon, Psyduck, but he's nearly taken out. I've got to sacrifice someone again. I hit an Ice Beam to bring him low, but we get the freeze. But immediately he falls out and takes down our Duck with an Outrage. RIP Psyduck. We now have a switch in though to Politoed, who's faster and can finish the fight with an Ice Beam. Honestly, that was hard. Alder demolished our team and caused us deaths as well. Let's move on to the other champion of Unova. Iris is the other champion and the majority of her Pokemon are dragons. This should be a much easier fight and a much needed one after Alder demolishing us. We can now sub in Love Disc and Corsola for our fallen comrades. Iris is leading Hydreigon and we lead off with Starmie. We outspeed and an Ice Beam brings him to below half before a Dragon Pulse does a massive amount of damage to us. I go for a recover, but he's still doing a lot of damage. With a freezing Ice Beam, we take down the first of Iris's dragons. Next up is Lapras. We Thunderbolt and then we get hit by a Thunderbolt, bringing Starmie to only 2 HP. That's so many times we've been brought to only 2 HP, but I'll take it. We did over half, so a final Thunderbolt takes out Lapras, but we are severely crippled. Haxorus comes out and this is a threat. We swap it to Gyarados as he hits a weak X-Scissor after Intimidate. We now Ice Fang to bring him to half and we freeze, but he falls instantly and goes for a Dragon Dance. He's now faster, so he hits us with a Dual Chop, bringing us low as we go for a Dragon Dance to outspeed him. With a final Ice Fang, we take care of this huge threat. Iris now sends out Druddigon and it's pretty bulky and I don't want to risk not knocking it out, so I swap to Togetic as we get Dragon Tailed into Love Disc. We outspeed and we charm, harshly lowering his attack, but a Rock Slide does a little more damage to us. We now hit an Ice Beam and we freeze, but he falls out instantly again and Focus Blasts us, taking out Love Disc in the process. Honestly, we've had so many freezes, but they instantly fall out. That's so unlucky. RIP Love Disc. We go into Politoed and can now set up the Rain and revenge kill Druddigon with an Ice Beam. Aggron has low special defense, so one Rain boosted Surf deals with him with no issues. This leaves Iris's last Pokemon, Archeops. It's faster and an Acrobatics does a massive amount of damage, but one more Rain boosted Surf and we defeat Iris, beating Generation 5 but losing a lot of Pokemon on the way. It's time to head to Kalos. Diantha is a champion of Kalos and who we face next. We add a baby Pokemon to our team now in Azurill. We're losing Pokemon really fast and we don't have many more replacements left. Diantha can be an easy fight though, and now we have a Mega. Let's try and sweep. Hawlucha is a lead and I lead off with Gyarados. We get off and Intimidate, lowering his attack, and we sell one Dragon Dance, boosting our attack and speed as he hits a weak Poison Jab. We boost again and now we're at +2 attack and speed as he hits a Poison Jab, and thankfully no poison. Now we can Mega Evolve. The reason I chose to wait is because Gyarados loses its Flying type and gains its Dark type, and Hawlucha would just destroy us. With now a +2 boosted Ice Fang, we take down Diantha's first Pokemon. She sends out Gudra, the bulky dragon, next, but our Mega Gyarados is way too powerful, and a freezing bite ends her second Pokemon. Third, she sends out the Ice Dinosaur, Auroras. It's weak to water type, so an Aqua Tail from our powerhouse makes short work of the Dino too. Fourth, she sends out Gourgeist. We actually miss our Ice Fang, so she gets off a Trick or Treat, adding the Ghost type to Gyarados. We connect our next Ice Fang for the one-hit knockout, ending Gourgeist without taking damage as per usual. Tyrantrum, the T-Rex, is next, and with a stab-boosted Aqua Tail, it's enough to send the T-Rex back to the prehistoric times. This leaves her last Pokemon, Gardevoir. She Mega Evolves, making it a Mega Standoff, but we are definitely faster. I go for an Earthquake as I can't afford to miss one attack, and we do just enough damage to get a Gyarados sweep on Diantha for a much needed, deathless, easier fight. But I'm very, very worried for our next champion. The champion I'm worried about is Hal. His team is insanely scary for us, and his leader's an Alolan Raichu, and we've got nothing to do with it. This is going to be a rough one. Hal's lead is the Alolan Raichu, and I decide to lead off with Politoed. He's now a physical attacker, and we got to hope. Politoed sets up the rain with Drizzle, and then Raichu hits a Thunderbolt, nearly taking us out. But thankfully with our Earthquake, we do just enough damage for a one-hit knockout. That's a huge relief. Second, she sends out Leafeon. We actually have a solid answer to this in Togetic. The Leaf Blade we resist thanks to our Flying type. We eat some Leaf Blades, and thanks to the rain, our Flamethrower is a 3-hit knockout. We soft-boiled up when we are low, and we bring Leafeon to the yellow. Leafeon goes for a baby doll eyes before we take him down with a Flamethrower, and we still got a good amount of HP. Crabominable is out, and this is going to hurt something. We go into Gyarados to get off the Intimidate, lowering his attack, as an Ice Hammer still does half to Gyarados and lowers Crabominable's speed. We have to swap, so into Starmie we go, and we take good damage again from a Stone Edge. Thankfully, a Sidekick puts an end to the Ice Crab's rampage, but our team is already starting to take hefty damage. Hal now sends out Incineroar, and a Dark move or a Z move is coming. This is Azuril's time to shine, and by that I mean be a sacrificial lamb for the team. A Darkest Lariat nearly takes us out even though we resist it. Then Hal goes for a Z move on a little blue ball of power, Inferno Overdrive. With a blazing fiery Inferno, it destroys Azuril, but he's done his job and he can rest easy now. We go into Corsola, and a super effective Earthquake really hurts us, but we get off great damage with a Surf, and now we can bait Incineroar into Earthquaking again. This gives us a free swap to Gyarados to lower his attack further as well. Thanks to Corsola's damage, an Earthquake from Gyarados finish off Hal's ace and starter. Now though, another threat, Tauros. Our team is severely beaten, and Tauros can spam double edges forever practically. I go into Togetic, but a double edge just does way too much damage, and he takes some recoil too. I then swap into Starmie, our only healthy-ish Pokemon, but a double edge leaves us on only 2 HP yet again. Thankfully, after recoil damage, we outspeed and Surf finishes off Tauros. Hal's last Pokemon is Noivern, and it's a problem. It's faster than Starmie for sure, and we have 0 switch-ins. This isn't good. I go into Togetic on the Dark Pulse, who tanks it reasonably well. Hoping I can live an Air Slash, I go for Soft-Boiled, but we don't, and Togetic falls, putting us on 6 deaths. This is super rough. I now go into Gyarados, and we're close to losing. Noivern is faster, and I don't trust an Ice Fang one-hit knocking out. We go for a Dragon Dance, we live a Dragon Pulse on just a sliver, and raise our attack and speed. We just need to connect the Ice Fang, and we do. That gives us a one-shot on Noivern, beating Hal, but once again losing Pokemon. This is a really tough run. On to the Switch games. The first fight of the Switch games is Trace, the champion for Let's Go Pikachu in Eevee. His team only have 3 moves, and it's usually a very easy fight. We will go for the sweep with only Gyarados, Mega Gyarados. If Gyarados falls, he falls, no going back. Trace's lead is Pidgeot, and we lead off with our Gyarados. Turn 1, we both Mega Evolve into our mighty Mega Standoff. We outspeed and hit a crunch, bringing Pidgeot to a sliver, as he connects an Air Slash. Trace now full restores his Bear Jesus, but we bring him back down with another attack. With a final crunch of our fangs, we take down his first Pokemon. Trace sends out Vileplume next. An Ice Beam doesn't quite get the knockout, and Vileplume only sets up a Reflect, boosting his team's defense. Trace full restores again, but we just bring it back down to a Sliver with an Ice Beam. We are faster, so another freezing attack, and down goes his second Pokemon. Third Trace sends out Jolteon. We have Earthquake, and our Mega Gyarados is just way too powerful, and we send his ace and starter packing with a ground type attack. Fourth is Marowak, but the sheer size of us charging up a waterfall at him leaves Marowak on a sliver as he hits a weak Brick Break. Trace full restores, but we waterfall again, and Reflect now wears off his team. With a final charge up the waterfall, we take down Marowak. Out next is Rapidash, but with no Reflect, a super effective waterfall takes down the Fire Horse with no issues either. This leaves his last Pokemon, Slowbro. It's weak to Dark, and we are now a Water Dark type. With a final super effective crunch of our fangs, Mega Gyarados easily sweeps Trace. Let's move on to Generation 8. The champion for Sword and Shield is Leon. His team is pretty strong and we're down to only 5 Pokemon. This could be rough, but we've got to try and get through it. We could potentially sacrifice 2 Pokemon if we need to. Let's do it. Leon's lead is his Aegislash and we lead off with Corsola. Turn 1 he goes for a King Shield and we can get on my favourite hazard for this fight, Stealth Rocks, for free. The next turn Aegislash is actually faster than us and hits a Sacred Sword for massive damage, but that's good for us as he's not in shield form, so an Earth Power takes him swiftly down. Now Leon sends out Haxorus. Nothing on my team wants to take an Outrage, and Corsola's done its job, so we get hit by a super effective Earthquake, and that takes down our pink Coral. I really don't have a good answer to this Pokemon, but I have to go into Gyarados, although I want it healthy for later on. We hit an Ice Fang and bring him down to the red, but in return we take an Outrage, putting us at half. That's not good. One more Icy Bite, and we take down the first of his dragons. His second dragon is Dragapult, and it's got Thunderbolt. We've got to switch. So I go into Starmie as a Thunderbolt on the swap does a massive amount of damage. I've got no choice, I have to attack. So I go for an Ice Beam and we don't do enough damage for the knockout, so Starmie falls to a Shadow Ball. RIP, you was amazing this run. We're running out of options, so I go into Clauncher. Leon full restores and our Ice Beam does half to him. We still pack a punch. We take a Thunderbolt again and we get paralyzed, but Clauncher's got a point to prove, breaks free and takes down this enormous threat. Leon sends out Mr. Rhyme, the dancing Mr. Mime next. He takes some damage from Stealth Rocks, and I go into our only healthy Pokemon left, Politoed. We set up the rain, and we're starting to play the endgame now. Mr. Rhyme knows Freeze Dry, and it's super effective against water types, and it does a massive amount too. I contemplate Dynamaxing, but I just hit a Waterfall. In the rain, it nearly takes him out. We get hit by a Freeze Dry, but live on 2 HP yet again, and this is hilarious. With a final Waterfall, we take down the dancing Pokemon. Up next is his water starter, Inteleon. I need Gyarados in the end to stand a chance, so we swap into Clauncher on the Snipe Shot, and in the rain, Clauncher falls too. This now brings up the death count to 9 Pokemon. I go into Gyarados, I need an attack boost, I have to Dragon Dance. Inteleon is faster, and a rain boosted Snipe Shot will take us out in another attack. So I go for a Dragon Dance, raising my attack and speed by 1 stage. This has to be enough. We now Dynamax and get just over 20 HP back. We hit a Max Quake and do enough damage to take down Inteleon and give us a special defense boost in the process. Leon sends out Charizard and it immediately takes 50% of its health to Stealth Rocks. He Gigantamaxes, and thanks to the Dragon Dance boost, we are faster. We hit a Max Geyser and that's enough to take down Gigantamax Charizard, beating Leon and leaving 1 champion left. But we are a broken team now. The last champion is Geeta for Generation 9, this Pokemon Scarlet and Violet champion. She has great type variety and some cool Pokemon as well. We only have 2 Pokemon left and she's got some ways to deal with them too. Let's do it. Can Misty beat every Pokemon champion? Her lead is a Sparfer and we lead off with our Politoed. We set up the rain with Drizzle, boosting our water type attacks. We take a Lumina Crash fairly decently and reply with a rain boosted Waterfall, nearly taking her down. We then take one more Lumina Crash, putting us very low, and take out the Psychic Ostrich with a Waterfall. Go-Go is Geeta's second Pokemon. I can't really switch, so I just fire off a Freezing Ice Punch for over half, as Politoed succumbs to a Horn Leech after being a solid Pokemon for this challenge. We now only have 1 Pokemon left, and that's Misty's Ace Gyarados. Our only hope to win is to Dragon Dance enough and sweep. Let's do it. We intimidate Go-Go, lowering its attack, and start Dragon Dancing, as it goes for a Horn Leech, doing little but recovering. On our next Dragon Dance, boosting our attack and speed by 2 stages, Golgoat starts bulking up, increasing its attack and defense. This is not good. We need more boosts. We get to a +4 in speed and attack before Golgoat attacks us with a massively boosted Horn Leech, putting us on a sliver. We have to go for it now. We take down the Goat with a freezing Fang in one move despite his defense boost. Geeta's next Pokemon is King Gambit. With all of our attack raises, a Stab Waterfall does enough for the knockout. Next out is Avalugg. We have Stone Edge, we just need to hit it, and we do, thankfully. It does enough damage to take out the Ice Slab in one attack, or that was game over. The loser is Geeta's next Pokemon. I go for another Stone Edge, risking the miss, but we connect, and that takes down her 5th Pokemon, leaving only her ace, Glamora, left. She terastallizes into a pure rock type, and with a massively boosted Stab Waterfall, Gyarados takes down Glamora, beating Geeta and beating every single Pokemon champion as Misty. So our total death count was 10 for this run. We only have 11 Pokemon available, so it really came down to the wire. We could have possibly had an easier time if we played every fight around a Gyarados sweep, but where's the challenge in that? I really hope you guys enjoyed this Misty playthrough, and if you have any suggestions, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, as there's plenty more Pokemon content to come from me. As always, if you're still here, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next one.